not too long ago, we had a World War II veteran, and everybody was standing up for the national anthem. And I mean, he couldn't stand up, but he wanted to stand up. And this other guy was holding him up.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize I had taken that picture until I started editing it. I thought, my goodness.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. United States Army veteran Rick Irving has a deep-rooted respect for military values passed down from his World War II Marine Corps father, Staff Sergeant Ray Irving. Today, the foundation his father set fuels Rick's dedication not only to serving his country, but also making a positive impact in his community. From serving as captain for the Fort Worth Police Department's Ridgely Hills Citizens on Patrol to actively contributing to various charitable organizations, Rick Irving's impact is tangible. But wait, there is more. Rick's passion for visual storytelling through photography is out of this world. His creative vision, combined with his unwavering support for nonprofit organizations, showcases his selflessness and drive to spark real change. It goes without saying, Rick's commitment goes beyond his professional achievements. As a co-host of Hometown Heroes podcast, he's already making waves in the veteran community, sharing stories of bravery, resilience, and hometown pride. It's an honor to shine a spotlight on United States Army veteran Rick Irving today.
Thank you, Rush. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. It's been an amazing experience to sit down in pre-production and walk through some of the nuances of having to get things together this morning. And I want to thank you for taking the time to come out from Fort Worth to be on the podcast, the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. So important because I've been following the things you've been doing in the community as a visual storyteller and conversation starter with Hometown Heroes all throughout North Texas or Texas in general. The podcast is named Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. And I know you spent some time in the United States Army. Talk to me a little bit about that, and then share with me how you felt when you were transitioning out of the military.
Okay. Yeah, in 1972, the draft was still going, and so I got a draft notice. And at that time, they were starting the all-volunteer Army because the draft was going to end pretty soon. So it was either go 2 years and do what they wanted you to do, or they had a deal where if you went 3 years, you get a guaranteed assignment for 16 months, and you get your choice of MOSs. So I took that. I wanted to work in the medical field, so I went to be a combat medic, and then I had a guarantee to be assigned with the 4th Infantry Division at Fort Carson, Colorado. And so that worked out good for a 19-year-old kid that was looking at probably having to go to Vietnam. So I had a great experience in the military, and I later became a clinical specialist and worked in hospitals, got a nursing license as LVN. And my wife and I got married in February of 1972. I got drafted, went in the Army in September of 72. And then she joined the Army in 74, so we, were both in the Army at the same time, which is really unique. And then when we got out, I started working on a degree in nursing because I wanted to go back in as a registered nurse. But,
oh, wow.
Life happened, and I got kind of disenchanted with nursing because in civilian life, I couldn't do the things I could do in the Army.
Yeah.
And so my father had a manufacturing company, and I was helping him. And then I got into the manufacturing end of the business. And my mother had a real estate company, and so I became a realtor plus, in manufacturing. So,
yeah, that's a transitioning from military life, from being a medic, a medic in the military, to working in manufacturing and also a real estate. That's two different. Yeah, the paradigms are totally different. What was it about you being a combat medic or military medic that you really enjoyed about being part of that?
One thing is being like an LVN. I really enjoyed the patient care, and some of the real great things I took away was being able to communicate with, here I can't say it, but to communicate with people whenever they were having some of the most stressful times in their life, health-wise. And just, you know, in the Army is be all you can be, and the Army lets you do a lot of stuff. So, you know, it gave me a lot of self-confidence as a young kid. You know, I was 21 years old, but it really gave me a lot of life skills. So
that's amazing. It's no wonder you're here, because I have a huge, it's no wonder that you and I have crossed bridges, because I have a huge admiration and respect for nurses, LVNs. The being with people at some of their most weakest moments, going through the mental and emotional hurdles of being sick or injured or you know, going through some kind of trauma with their physical body. I'm sure it messes with their mental capacity too. What were some of the when you look back at it, you say, what is these are the three things I took away from being a nurse in the military?
Compassion for other people, not just for the patient, but for the families.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. Another thing was the patient care. I really enjoyed the patient care because, I mean, it was direct care. You know, it wasn't like we didn't have computers and all that. So I wasn't sitting out doing nursing notes all day long, but to be able to help people and then to communicate, like I said, with their families and just helping them get well.
Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, from civilian life to civilian life nursing school to from combat medic or you know, being in the military medic or nurse, you're dealing with brothers and sisters that are serving this country, and I'm sure that was that one of those hills that you had to get over, or that was like one of your obstacles to say, this is why this is part of the reason why I'm not going to pursue nursing?
No, it's just, you know, to be what I wanted to do later as an RN, you know, I'd have to get a master's degree to get away from the ward and, you know, then get into administration. So, and my father-in-law was having some health problems, so I got involved in his business and later went to work for General Dynamics.
So your transition from military life was relatively out of necessity and need, and also you say, hey, this is the mountain I have to climb. I'm not sure I really want to go that direction. Is that right?
Yeah.
I know that I do know that your father, a Marine Corps veteran, Ray Irving, had a huge influence on your life. How did he impact your values and approach to leadership going down the road?
You know, one thing he taught myself and my brother, love a country. I mean, he was a patriotic guy, and I kid about it sometime, but I know that I learned to sing the Marine Corps hymn before I learned to sing Jesus Loves Me. And he loved the flag, he loved veterans, and he honored our country.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, he was a great role model, and he was a good provider.
Nice.
He worked hard, so.
It was beautiful. Is there a fond memory of him being in the Marine Corps that resonates with you still today?
You know, he never talked about it much.
Oh.
I mean, he was a proud Marine, but he just never talked about the war. And, you know, he's been gone since 1995, and now in this stage of my life, working with all these World War II veterans, I think, man, why didn't I ask him some questions?
Wow, yeah, I bet. Yeah, I do see a lot of your visual storytelling revolving around World War II, Vietnam veterans, stuff like. We'll get to that in a few seconds. You have more than 2 decades in the defense industry. Can you share a couple of lessons or insights that you've gained from your experience in the military?
Yeah, in the defense industry, I worked for General Dynamics, which later became Lockheed Martin. And I worked for a while in the R&D part in the wind tunnel model shop. So with the F-22 and the F-35, 2 airplanes that we have today, I was in those programs very early on whenever we were just doing the research and the down select before we got selected for them. So it's been a real joy to see those programs go from the drawing board to having the finest aircraft in the world.
Yeah.
And then I got to do an internship in labor relations, which really spurred my interest in being arbitrator and mediator, 2 things which I did kind of on the side to resolve conflicts. So.
Wow, that's a valuable tool to have, you know, when you think about resolving conflict, for sure. Today, you're a visual storyteller, and you use photography as a vehicle. And you also have a podcast. You're also a podcast host. Let's talk about the photography first.
Okay.
Briefly list some of the clients you've worked with, if you don't mind.
Okay. One Tribe, which 22 Kill.
Nice.
Air Power Foundation, I'm a ambassador for them. The Fort Worth Air Power Council, I'm a member of their board of directors. Freedom Mobility Foundation, I'm a member of their board of directors. Roll Call, a veterans luncheon where we have over 500, or at 500 people every month. I was on their board of directors, and that's what really got me started in photography.
Wow.
Because I bought a camera not to take pictures, because I wasn't a photographer. I did it for video, and I went to Roll Call after I retired from Lockheed, went and took my camera and took pictures and posted them. People liked them, went back, and then started every month taking pictures, and other groups started asking me to take pictures. So, and it was a long time before I could really say I really don't like to say I'm a photographer. I'm more of a photojournalist that uses pictures to tell stories. So.
Yeah, that's a unique way to say it too. You know, like you say, are you a professional photographer? You're a photojournalist that tells stories with your pictures. That's awesome. Yeah, Jacob Schick, 22 Kill.
Oh, yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, good guy. I've interviewed him a while back ago, and we just went. My wife and I just went to this. It had some of the Roll Call with Jason Morgan's Veterans Outpost. I don't know if you heard of that or not. Yeah. So we went to a gala that they just had, and it was really cool. Air Power Foundation. I see a lot of things going on with them. They have so many pictures going. Beautiful. It looks like an amazing event.
We have the Sky Ball every year.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that organization.
You know, that organization, a friend of mine was going to win a vacation or get a vacation at a Sky Ball event. And another friend said, can you take some pictures? And I didn't know what it was, you know.
Yeah.
I went there and it just blew me away. I said, I don't know what I need to do to be able to participate in this every year, but I sure want to do it. Yeah. And then I went to this deal called War Stories, put on by the Fort Worth Air Power Council, and I took some pictures and I met the president or the chairman, and he said, we want you to be a member. I think, man, there's only 200 members.
Yeah.
And most of them are, you know, lieutenant colonels, generals, Congress people, and why do you want me to be a member, you know? But I did the paperwork, and the bar wasn't very high that day because they let me in. But, you know, it was a great launching pad to get involved with the Air Power Foundation. So.
Yeah, they look like they're doing amazing things, and I see some of the pictures you take. They're very dynamic. One of my friends, I think he got a award there 1 year. It was his name's Travis. Travis, yeah, I forgot his last name.
Can we just talk a minute about Jacob Schick?
Yeah,
okay?
Let's do that.
You know, we were talking about God things and people that cross your path.
Yeah.
On Veterans Day, probably 2018 or 19, I stopped at a Whataburger because I was going to Fort Worth Parade for the Veterans Day Parade. I saw a fellow in there. He had a 22 Kill shirt and a ring, and he had his family with him. And so I got my meal, and they sat down. I said, hey, what's the deal? You know, I see your ring. And, well, it was Dan Lombardo. He was the chairman of the board. And so we talked there at the Whataburger. Then we went to the parade, talked some more. And he became a very dear friend and got me involved with 22 Kill.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just those things, you know. And so whenever we do go to the Veterans Day Parade, if Dan and I are both going, we always go to Whataburger to eat. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's camaraderie at its finest, isn't it? To maintain that level of camaraderie. How important do you think it is for veterans like yourself and other veterans to maintain a level of camaraderie with each other?
I think it's very important. And in Roll Call, you know, it starts at 11:30. We have veterans start showing up at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
It's a big day for them, you know, to go sit with their friends and talk. And so many times it's not talking about war, it's just being with somebody that knows what you went through. You know, like us being Army veterans. Yeah. We know how basic training was. We know how AIT was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Jacob Schick, before he became a world movie star, right? he did a lot. He was on everything, right? Yeah. A bunch of things. When I interviewed him, he was a really cool guy.
He's a good
guy. Really rock solid with what he's got going on. In what ways? So another question I have for you is: in what ways has photography helped you evolve as a man?
Well, it helped me because, at first, I mean, I didn't want to be a photographer. I mean, I didn't set out to be a photographer. It
Yeah.
just happened. And then as I started doing things, I was doubting myself.
Yeah.
Am I doing it right? And, what are other photographers really going to think about my work? Because I wasn't a creative guy, but all of a sudden I started being a creative person. And I had to get over that hump, knowing that what I was doing was my way, and it was the right way for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go try to be like somebody else. I just needed to do the best Rick Irving could do.
Yeah. And right now, if you compared yourself from, when did you start? When you just
2017 is when I bought a
2017.
camera.
Okay, 2017. Now, between now and 7 years, right? Where would you say, like, I see your quality of work now.
Yeah.
Speak to how proud of yourself you are about the work you're doing today.
Well, what I really enjoy is whenever I take pictures and I see people enjoying my pictures. I look at Facebook and I say, there's a picture I took, and that's your profile picture. Or see a picture that's dear to them. And my journey in photography has evolved. I'm not doing quite the quality that I was doing. I need to get back and spend more time. Start getting mirrorless cameras, and you don't have to do a lot of editing. And it's become easier, but I just need to back up and really, I want to mentor other people. Because I can't. There's a lot of organizations, and I don't charge. I get paid by one or two of them, but I don't charge. And we need some other people that, hey, we want to learn photography. And especially with like the Golden Gloves. I'm the photographer for Texas Golden Gloves.
I saw that.
And I want some other people to learn how to do boxing. Because those kids, a lot of them are inner city kids or kids at risk. They go to the local police athletic league gyms. They get off the street. They get focused in on boxing. And I think it's really important to be able to take their pictures. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. I would always say that I remember I was shooting somebody, and of course I do digital video stuff, right, podcast, and I was interviewing my friend Travis. I can't remember his last name right now, but Travis is a 24-year retirement party for the United States Army, and he was awarding his wife a medal, and I had videoed him in the medal, right, and he was placing it on her, and I thought to myself, and this is a question I'm going to ask you. Do you feel like you capture the essence of people when you're taking pictures, the essence of who they are?
I think I do, and I always am looking for the picture.
Yeah.
It's not, and sometimes I take pictures, I'm taking them so fast sometimes, I don't realize I just took an epic picture.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, we had a World War II veteran, and everybody was standing up for the national anthem. And I mean, he couldn't stand up, but he wanted to stand up. And this other guy was holding him up.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize I had taken that picture until I started editing it. I thought, my goodness. And a lot of people made comments about that. But I try to get the essence of who people are.
Yeah.
Try to see it in their eyes. Especially with boxers, whenever they're getting their hands wrapped. I can look at them and tell if they've got the inner game going or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do their eyes ever roll back and it's just white? You're like, oh my God, this guy's gonna get killed.
But sometimes I have the opportunity to take the last picture of somebody. And you think, man, that guy just died yesterday, and I saw him and took a picture 3 days ago.
Wow. Wow, that's so impactful because you're capturing that one moment in time, and you say this will be forever is the last memory of the person.
And then with funerals, my dad died in 1995. The Marine Corps was there with 21 gun salute and everything. All I have is the mental image. I don't have any pictures. So I really enjoy and get a lot of satisfaction out of going to the National Cemetery for my friends and their families to take pictures, because those are pictures that are going to last forever for many generations.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We need people to tell the stories, of what people are doing in the community, and you're one of them. Question is, what are 2 main goals you want to achieve like that you want to achieve in your visual storytelling?
One thing, I've been focusing a lot on World War II guys, and they're in another 3 or 4 years, there's not going to be any. And there's some Korean veterans out there, but not many of them. But we're starting to see a lot of the Vietnam veterans, coming where they're 75, 80 years old. And I really see a need to get as many stories and pictures of those veterans and the Korean War veterans too.
Yeah.
And then we have the Gulf War, or I call it the Gulf War, but Afghanistan, Iraq. Those guys, we aren't hearing a lot of stories from them yet. So.
Yeah, that's the memories that are gonna last forever. You ever enter any of your pictures in contests? Have you ever won anything?
I might have entered 1 or 2, or but
just curious if you ever won a major, like had your stuff posted in magazines and stuff like that.
Well, I've had pictures in magazines,
Oh, yeah.
and then pictures like on one of the Today Show type deals where they were using my pictures while they were talking about an organization.
Nice, that's beautiful. Hometown Heroes podcast. What inspired you to co-host the Hometown Heroes podcast, and what do you hope listeners gain from every episode?
My friend Larry O'Neill, he's got a Fort Worth Memories Museum, and he does Facebook Lives all day long, you know. And so he and I have been talking for years about, we need to get some veterans on here. We need to hear their stories. So one day we did. And then I reached out to my friend Mary Staffel. She's the president of Roll Call because they've got all these veterans. I said, how about co-hosting this with me? And so we went to Larry's, and for a year, a little over a year, we went to Larry's every week to his museum, set all our equipment up, and bring veterans in. And then, it's getting too cumbersome, and it's taking away from Larry's time because he's got a business too. And so we started to use StreamYard, that platform. And it's pretty nice because I can still be in my pajamas, put a shirt on.
Tuxedo shirt on with no pants on.
but I want to really start getting more Vietnam veterans and hear their stories.
Yeah, that'd be so cool because when you have that soundbite, you're gonna have it forever. Their family's gonna have it forever. You're gonna have that one moment in time that's always captured, just like you and I will have this moment in time together. Let's see. Podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. What are a couple of pieces of advice you would give to veterans transitioning into civilian life that are seeking to make a positive impact?
One thing I'd like to tell veterans is don't ever think that you're too old to do something. Because there's been a couple of times in my life that I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to pursue this kind of education. I said, I'm too old. I'd be 35 by the time I got a medical degree or something. And, I turned 35 and I didn't have one. And then later, when I was about 60, I wanted to get a law degree. And so I looked into it a little bit. I thought, I'd be too old, because I didn't want to go start a law practice, but I just liked the law. So, but never think you're too old. And if you get out early, you really ought to think about staying in the reserves. And build that retirement up. So
that's beautiful. Transitioning back transition. I think those are good pieces of advice. You're going to have a legacy one day, right? And there's going to be a message attached to it. What kind of message do you want to leave behind? And what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind?
I think the legacy that I'm going to leave behind is a lot of memories from a split second in people's lives. Because those, pictures are so important. November 22nd, 1963, people my age will surely remember that day. It's the day that John Kennedy got killed. Well, I was a 10-year-old boy, and that morning my mama said, hey, y'all aren't going to school. We're going to go see if we can see the president. So she took us out to Carswell Air Force Base, where he was going to fly on Air Force One to Dallas. And we got there early. We were right at the front of the rope line, and we waited a couple hours, and all of a sudden, here comes this motorcade. And he gets out and starts shaking hands with people. And my brother and I shook hands with the President of the United States and with the First Lady. And, 2 hours later, he was dead.
Oh, wow.
We never saw a picture. We didn't know a picture existed. 50 years later, this producer from Hollywood was working on a documentary and asked us to be in it. And he said, I'm going to send you all a film clip. See if you can find yourself. And I said, I think that's us. He blew the picture up. And it was the first picture we'd ever seen of us with the president.
Wow.
And so that, my memory, if we didn't have a picture, would maybe go on a generation or two. But now I've got a picture that'll go on forever. And that's the legacy is, you know, I've got hundreds of thousands of pictures now.
Yeah.
And they're all out on the internet. And people are going to enjoy those pictures. And some of them are going to be passed down from generation to generation. So just be all you can be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's so beautiful because, you know, your legacy, you have brought their spirit to be encapsulated in this one image.
That's right.
And that's going to last forever. Okay, let's see. What are projects you're currently working on, and how can people reach you?
Projects I'm currently working on, I'm still doing a lot of work with different organizations. One of the organizations I'll be with next month is the Gold Star Parents Retreat. We have about 50 or 60 Gold Star parents that meet for 3 days. And you know, Gold Star parents, they've lost a child.
Yeah.
And to be there, there's only a couple of us that are volunteers that will be there that haven't lost a child. And so that's a big part of, you know, the love I have for Gold Star parents. I get to give back to them. So that's a big project. Our podcast, you know, I want to start doing more maybe in the evening with Vietnam veterans. So we can get as many of those guys talking and telling their story, because I think there's some healing in telling your story.
Yeah, so do I. Like, that's so important. I think, and not only that, like, there's some life lessons that other military, newly enlisted or newly enlisted soldiers out there that can hear from, and
Hear from them.
Yeah, hear from them, and also guys that are in combat right now.
That's right, because it's so cool to see a young military person and an old veteran talking. Several years ago, I went to the Iwo Jima reunion. Woody Williams was there, Medal of Honor recipient, and we went up. It was at Wichita Falls. We went up to Fort Sill. I was stationed there twice. Didn't realize they had a big Marine battery, about 500 people there. We went up there. We had these World War II veterans, and we went in this big room and separated all these World War II guys out, and had these new Marines around them, you know, sitting at their feet, listening to them. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Rick, it's a pleasure to.
I've got something to give you.
Okay.
And that's a challenge going from the
God.
Air Power Foundation.
Oh, wow, nice. This is awesome.
Maybe we can get you at the next Sky Ball.
I would love that, actually. That's so cool, because I've reached out to him this last time. I said, I would love to be part of your, you know, somehow contribute, if it's the Unfinished Business podcast or however.
Well, we've got some veterans that I can get you hooked up with for the Unfinished Business.
I would love that, get to know them, and you know, that's what we're doing, is shining some light on guys that have combat veterans, or veterans period, that have transitioned from military life and are making a dynamic impact in their community. And of course, we know that a lot of veterans come back and they struggle, but something in them takes over, kind of like something took over in you with your from photography to photojournalist, and now you've got out of your own way and made some beautiful magic with that. So I admire you greatly for everything you're doing for the community.
I admire you greatly. I mean, we just met today, but we've had a great conversation before the podcast.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're one of those guys that I think, I'm glad I know you. I
Oh,
want to be a better person because I know Russ.
Thank you. And I'm a better person to know you today, too. Pleasure
bless
to
you.
know you. Guys, that's it for the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. As I always say, have peace and the light in you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.